So I wanted to demonstrate how we install windows. This is a standard single hung vinyl replacement window, or not a replacement, excuse me, a vinyl new construction window. And as you can see, it does not project in enough to come flush with the sheetrock. So in this case, we have to build some extension jambs and install them. I have already everything pre-built already, so we'll go ahead and install. First thing you want to do is make sure that you've insulated the window. As you can see, we have foam insulation around here. Give it a couple of minutes to expand. In this case, I'm not too worried about it because the cavity is deep enough that if it expands, it will not come through my trim. Next thing we did is we installed, this part is called a stool. Some people call it a sill, but this is a window stool. I'm not sure why it's a window stool, but that's what it is. So we had 5/8 inch thick window stool. I had 1 3/4 to the reveal that matches around the window, which in this case we picked 5 3/8. That leaves me room to be able to open and close the window. You also want to make sure your stool is level with the window. So what I did was I added another piece of 1 or 3/4 inch below it to build it up. So now that's installed. All right, some things you want to consider when you're installing a stool is this. You want to know the width of the window, or the width from the window to the, in this case, the substrate of the tile. That's just the way this window worked out without messing with the siding. So you want to know that. You also want to know how thick your trim is, plus the reveal. So we're matching the rest of the trim in the house. So the trim in the house is it's like 4.5 inches wide, but it also has 1 1/4 inch exposure from this point of the stool to the trim. So I had to account for that 1 1/4 inch plus the 5/8 inch of the thickness of the trim, which gave me roughly 2 inches. So we went with 2 inches. So I have a 2 inch reveal here, and a 2 inch reveal here, and then I know that this is 3.5 inches to here, so I brought this in 3.5 inches. That gave me my total stool. Now, with typical stool, you want to make sure that whatever exposure you have here, you want to match. So, as you can see, there's my 1 1/4 inch right there. What I did for myself is I made myself up a template, and that's how I got these lines. This line here, and this line here, and that gave me where I needed to be. All right, now that the stool is installed, we can go on and install the casing. I went ahead and installed it all together, but what we did was this. Give you a little bit of the anatomy of it. We have a 3.5 inch extension jamb on top and sides, and then here's our 4.5 inch trim. Now on the rest of the house, it is square cut, so that's what we did here. This should essentially fit into the opening as is. What I did was I measured from my stool up to my exposure, or my line where my reveal is going to be, there, and measured there, and that's where I got my height. So it should go good. I did not preset this. You were seeing whether or not it goes in the first time. So here we go. All right. So like that, it is installed. All right. And I can tell you a couple of things I'm not happy about, or a couple of things I need to consider. So one, it's a little taller on this side. I think I can fix that, or I know I can fix that with a little bit of trim. As you notice, the trim up there is not sitting flat. This is an old house, at least 90 years old, so the walls, the stud work, as much as we try to fix it, it's not perfect. But we did what we had to do. Okay. Something about perfection. Perfection is something that you do your best to get, but you are working with imperfect materials. It's not bad. It just bothers me. So we're going to fix that. So now that I know that I'm good, I can go ahead and nail this off. I used 1 1/4 inch nails to nail the trim to the extension jamb, and 1 1/4 inch nails, brad nails, 18 gauge on all of it, to fasten the extension jambs together. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 2.5 inch, or 2 inch rather, to set the trim. So now that I know that my reveal is okay, I will go ahead. I know that I have lines here that represent my 5/8. I can go ahead and tack that off there, adjust it, tack that off there, and then bring that over and attach that there. Now I know I'm secure. You may be wondering, why didn't I block out on the inside of this? I didn't need to. I have blocking that came out where the window sat that I can now fasten to. All right, so now that I know that, I can go ahead and also fasten this one. Find my line, there it is, and go ahead and fasten it. All right, so there you go. We are trimmed. The only thing I have to do now is I gotta put my apron. This part is called an apron. That's gonna go across here. The apron measures from outside trim to outside trim. That's just gonna be a 1x4, just like these. It's gonna sit up against that. The reason why we had to do this is, as you can see, this projects into the shower a little bit. Not into the actual tub, but along this line. The reason why is the homeowner didn't want to mess with the siding. So the tile is now going to butt up to the trim, and that's the way it was when it was originally, before we remodeled it. So there you go. That window is now trimmed. A little bit more, a few more nails here and there, put the apron in, and we're good to go.